Thank you all.
You can't blame them for not trying. There are the reporters in the Oval Office asking questions of the President-elect Trump right there and President Biden smiling at each other, but not taking the bait, if you will. Any of the questions inside that room. You heard President Biden say to the President-elect, "We want to make sure you have a smooth transition of power. We're here to help you with anything that you need." The President-elect saying politics is tough, that the world is not a nice place, but it is a nice place today. Certainly appreciating the extension from President Biden to make this transfer as peaceful as possible. Let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, also watching these images as they're coming in. And Mary, as you look at the image, it's quite notable. President Trump did not extend this courtesy 4 years ago when Biden beat him. President Biden, in an effort to strike a new tone moving forward, extending that invitation today.
David, this is something we haven't seen in 8 years, and yet the president felt it was very important for the world to see this, to see these images, and for him to be able to reiterate and underscore his commitment to a peaceful and smooth transition. And it was clear, I was in the room there as the pool reporter today in the Oval for that, and it really felt like both the president-elect and the president, after this bitter, hard-fought campaign, were really trying to bring down the temperature there. As you noted, Donald Trump mentioning, look, politics is a tough business, but they are trying to move forward. And it is interesting to hear Donald Trump there in this meeting, a ritual that he did not afford President Biden 4 years ago, but saying that he appreciates this outreach, that he appreciates moving forward for a smooth transition ahead, David.
Mary, stick with us. I'll come back to you in just a moment. John Carl, you're also watching along. I know you were there when then President Obama extended the invitation to the President-elect Donald Trump for his first term in office.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, these are two moments that are extremely rare in the life and career of Donald Trump. Two moments where he is not the person driving the conversation. He is not the person who is convening the meeting. You see, Joe Biden there welcoming, short, gracious remarks, and short and gracious remarks from Donald Trump. Very similar to what we saw almost exactly, David, 8 years ago when Barack Obama invited Trump to come to the White House. Back then, it was just 2 days after the 2016 election. And a very similar scene at that point. Donald Trump actually said that he would be seeking counsel of President Obama as he started his administration. And I asked him a question at the time, and it was the one question that was answered. I said, "Are you really going to seek counsel from Barack Obama?" And he said, yes, he would. And I'll tell you, the graciousness didn't last long back then. It was another obviously bitter campaign. We'll see how long the graciousness lasts this time.
John Carl, I appreciate it. Let's get right to the Hill. Rachel Scott, a lot of news on Capitol Hill. The president-elect was there just a short time ago. Now, of course, at the White House with President Biden. That's the spray from the beginning of the meeting. I presume the meeting continues between the two, President Biden, President-elect Trump. But significant for a number of reasons at the White House. Also significant his visit to the Hill just a short time ago.
Exactly, David. Before that face-to-face meeting between President Biden and also President-elect Donald Trump, the President-elect was here near Capitol Hill. He was meeting with House Republicans behind closed doors. And I'm told right off the bat, you had Speaker Johnson acknowledge that the coattails, in his word, were enormous, that not only having President-elect Donald Trump at the top of the ticket for Republicans got them the majority in the Senate, that they believe they are inching closer to a strong majority, although it may be small, over in the House. I am told by multiple members who were in the room that the president-elect also praised Speaker Johnson. He also said that, "I suspect I won't be running again unless you say he's so good, we've got to figure something else out." Multiple members inside that room told me that was intended to be a joke, that several people also chuckled in that room as well. But of course, just on the other side of the chamber, you have Senate Republicans who will be electing their new majority leader right now. This is a Republican conference that is going to be strengthened with President-elect Donald Trump at the White House. And as this is all playing out, David, also House Democrats meeting for the first time behind closed doors. And in his very first acknowledgement, Leader Jeffries did acknowledge to House Democrats that he does feel that it is very unlikely that the House is going to flip in their favor. He says that the buck stops with him, and he looks forward to trying to retake the majority back in 2026, David.
Yeah, the math looks extraordinarily difficult. Looks like the Republicans will hold on to the House as well. They'll control the Senate and, of course, the White House. One of those rare moments in Washington when all three are under the same party. Rachel, thank you. Quite a split screen from 24 hours ago. I want to go back to this image from just yesterday. Vice President Kamala Harris returning to the White House for the first time to have lunch with President Biden, and she was greeted by hundreds of workers at the White House and the old executive office building. Let's listen to the Nat sound here for just a moment. It happens every 4 years. There are winners and losers in these presidential elections. She thanked the team gathered there, and she said there is still a lot of work to get done, but that she was grateful for their support. Mary Bruce, any reporting on the lunch between President Biden and the Vice President, the words that they might have shared?
Yeah, this private meeting between the two of them, this luncheon, the first really extended time that the president and the vice president have had alone together since the election. The White House, not surprisingly, not reading out too many details of that. This was a private conversation between the two of them. The vice president, we know, is back at work. She's meeting, we are told, with staff and aides today. She notably is not a part of this Oval Office meeting today. You can imagine that would have been a bit uncomfortable. And the White House stressing today is really about a chance for the president and the president-elect to meet. But it was hard not to look at those images yesterday and see that she clearly was touched by the outpouring of support from her staff, and yet stressing there's still a lot of work to do, David.
Mary, thank you. Let's get back to the pictures of the moment, the news at this hour. Again, President Biden meeting in the Oval Office with President-elect Donald Trump. The president extending his hand right there, and the invitation to the president-elect, a courtesy that was not extended 4 years ago. President Biden saying in front of the cameras, we are here for a peaceful transfer of power to make sure you have everything you need as you enter into your administration. President-elect Trump saying politics is tough. He said in many ways the world is not a nice place, but it is a nice world today in that moment with President Biden. Our coverage continues on ABC News Live, abcnews.com. I'll be back with the entire team for World News Tonight. I'm David Muir in New York. I'll see you a little later today. Have a good day.